What's up, guys? It's Thursday, May 14th. Um, so yesterday I had you guys kind of try an activity in your workbook for 11.4 to sort of introduce to you this whole concept of multiplying and dividing rational expressions. All right, so today we're actually going to just stick with, we're going to focus on multiplying rational expressions and then kind of simplifying them. Okay. Before we begin, though, I did want to just kind of show you what the answers were from yesterday's activity, just in case you were sort of interested. So here are your answers for that first page. Okay, so you were matching. All right, and then let me move over here. And then here are your answers for that second page that you worked on as well. All right, so pages 299 and 300, I believe they were. Here are your answers for those. Okay. So again, I'm going to get into the concept of now multiplying rational expressions, where we're still kind of doing the same concepts as 11.3. We're still simplifying as well. Okay, so our learning target is basically that we can multiply rational expressions today. All right, so let's kind of get right into it. It does say at the beginning here, you can use the same rules that you used for multiplying and dividing fractions to multiply and divide rational expressions. Okay. Pretty basic, but let's look at, again, only multiplying today, and I'm going to kind of walk you through my thought process, okay? So my thought process is always this. The first thing that I'm asking myself is, can I factor any of these polynomials, okay? So I am looking, I'm just going to go kind of left to right here. So I'm looking here, 5, can that be factored? Of course not, it's one term. 2x to the third power, can I factor that? No, it's one term. Same thing with 4x to the third, and then x plus 1, let's remember that's really in parentheses, but is there a common factor between x and 1? No. So I can't factor anything, okay? So right away, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look to cross cancel, okay? So I'm looking at 5 and x plus 1, and here's my thought process as well. Since I don't see another x plus 1, remember this is really in parentheses, since I don't really see another x plus 1 anywhere in the problem, I already know that I'm not going to do anything with this x plus 1. I can't simplify it at all, okay? But what I'm going to look at is this 4x to the third and this 2x to the third, okay? And I'm going to cross cancel, sort of like multiplying regular fractions, right? But I see an x to the third here and here, which I'm just going to get rid of, okay? They are going to cancel each other out, all right, because one's in the numerator and one's in the denominator, okay? And what I'm also going to do is this 4 and this 2, that's really 2 over 1. So I'm going to cross cancel this to make it a 2 and cross cancel this to make it a 1, okay? And again, I can't do anything with the 5 and the x plus 1. So I'm just going to multiply across, okay? So 5 times 2, 5 times 2, that's going to give me a 10 on the top. And then I have a 1 over here, and I have an x plus 1 over here. So this is my final answer, okay? So let's look at what the book does quick. All right, so what the book does is they don't cross cancel like I do right away. They actually multiply the numerators and denominators, okay? So when they multiply on the bottom here, they actually just kind of put the 2x to the third right next to the x plus 1. They don't actually fully multiply, all right? But after that, then they divide out the common factors, okay? So that's what they're showing you here. Same thing I did. This 4 becomes a 2, and then we multiply and simplify completely to get 10 over x plus 1, okay? Now, problem B. Again, I'm going to walk you through my thought process here. 1, that's in parentheses. I already know that. And secondly, I'm going to see, can I factor any of these polynomials? Okay, so starting here, h is one term. No. H plus 2, there's no common factor. This h squared plus 5h plus 6, guess what I can do with that? We can factor that like we've been since chapter 7, Okay, so we're going to see what multiplies to 6 and adds to 5. Those numbers are going to be 3 and 2. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this trinomial to two binomials. Okay, and then the h squared, I can't do anything with that either. I can't factor that. All right, so I'm going to rewrite everything. So I have an h over h plus 2. Put it in parentheses. Times, I'm changing this trinomial to h plus 3 times h plus 2. And this is all over h squared. All right, so what I'm looking at now is, again, I'm going to kind of cross cancel things that I can cancel. All right, so I have one h here and I have two h's down here, right? So this cancels completely. I'm going to make it into a 1. And this 2, this h squared, there's only one h left after I cancel that. Okay, so I'm going to leave it here. And then I have an h plus 2 down here, and I have an h plus 2 up here. I'm going to cross cancel those. All right, I'm going to look at what is left, and I'm going to multiply. Okay, so I have a 1 here times an h plus 3. So on my numerator, I'm going to have h plus 3 left. And in my denominator, this h plus 2 canceled completely. There's nothing down here, and I only have one h left down here. Okay, so this is, once again, my final answer. All right, so let's erase all that and see what the book does. But hopefully this makes sense. We're kind of factoring. We're seeing if we can factor, and then we are cross-canceling, and then we're multiplying at the end. That's what I do, at least. Okay, so what they did, yep, they factored the trinomial on the top right. Okay, again, the book kind of multiplies right away. They put everything together, and then they simplify, which is another way you can do it. No problem. But again, I kind of like to cross-cancel things. But we end up with the same answer at the end. Okay, hopefully that made sense. Let's do an extra example, and then you guys are going to give this a shot with a couple problems. All right, so here we go. I'm going to walk you through my thought process. 2n minus 1. Since I don't see that, I know this is in parentheses. Since I don't see that anywhere else in the problem, I already know I'm not going to be able to touch it. Okay, I'm not going to be able to simplify it at all. Okay, but I can't factor anything from it. Okay, these 4n to the 5th, 2n to the 3rd, 3. Those are all one term, so there's no greatest common factor coming out. Okay, we can't factor them at all. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and cross cancel. All right, so again, 2n minus 1, if I look to my 3 here, I can't do anything with that. I can't cross cancel. All right, but my 2n to the 3rd and my 4n to the 5th, 2 over 4, that's really 1/2. So I'm changing those, okay? And there's more n's on the bottom in the denominator. There's 5 of them as opposed to 3 of them. So this n to the 3rd I'm getting rid of completely, and this n to the 5th I'm changing to n to the 2nd because that's how many more there were on the bottom. Okay? Now I can multiply. Now that I've tried to factor and I've simplified, now I can multiply across. Okay, so there's really nothing left on the right side here of the numerator except a 1. So I have 2n minus 1 multiplied by 1, which isn't changing. Okay, so that's my numerator. And then I have a 2n to the 2nd power times a 3. So 3 times 2 gives me 6. And to that 2nd power still. Okay, so this would be my final answer. This is my product simplified completely. Okay, now problem B, let's look at this. I'm going to already put these two things in parentheses to remind us that we can't cancel anything out unless it says the exact same thing on the bottom. All right, but what I'm looking at is I have a trinomial down here that I can factor. Okay, I'm going to do that over here. I have a -6 that I'm trying to multiply to, and I have a -1 that I'm trying to add to. All right, those factors would be -3 and +2. right? So I'm going to change this trinomial to two binomials, all right? So I would have k minus 3 on the top, k squared on the bottom times k plus 2 over, now again I'm changing my trinomial to k minus 3 times k plus 2. All right, and at this point, again, these are in parentheses. And what I see is I see the exact same thing in the numerator that I see in the denominator, okay? K minus 3's, those can cancel. The k plus 2, even though I'm not cross-canceling it, it's still, one's in the numerator, one's in the denominator, so I can still cancel those, okay? So what I'm left with on the top, since everything got canceled, is I'm just left with a 1 on the top. And then on the bottom, everything else got canceled other than this k to the second power. All right, so my final answer here, my final answer is 1 over k squared. Okay, so again, hopefully this makes sense. It is a little complicated, of course, but again, hopefully this is making sense to you guys. So right now you're going to go into big ideas and you are going to complete the 11.4 practice, just the part 1, which is just focused on multiplying. There's 4 questions, and hopefully you guys do well with this. You have honestly been killing it with this chapter already. I was very, very pleasantly surprised with your grades for 11.3, which again, I consider to be very difficult, and you guys are doing a really good job, especially with this being virtual. Okay, so let's try this 11.4 practice, part 1, and try and multiply and simplify rational expressions. As always, email me with any questions and ask in the discussion thread. Otherwise, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.